What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports, and we are finally here, arriving at where we should be. That is discussing an NLDS matchup for your Philadelphia Phillies. Now, it was basically just playing the entire waiting game for this series to conclude with the Mets and the Milwaukee Brewers. And stating it plainly right here, I didn't care who the Phillies faced in the first round. My biggest priority watching this series, and obviously every Phillies fan was watching this three-game set with the Brewers and the Mets. I just wanted it going three. I wanted this team to both teams to beat each other up, both teams to go down to the wire, and that's basically what happened. You know, it was very close to the Phillies playing the Milwaukee Brewers. You know, Brewers leading 2-0 going into the top of the ninth inning, and Devin Williams just completely imploded on himself, allowing a couple of base runners and then the go-ahead 3-run bomb from Pete Alonso. Basically, after dropping that pop-up in foul territory the previous half inning. So, a lot of crazy stuff going throughout the entire board here. Just crazy stuff. Crazy finishes and everything like that. That entire series with the Mets and the Brewers was very entertaining just from a baseball fan's perspective. Just crazy stuff. Mets win 8-4, just constant lead changes throughout that entire first game. It's game two, Mets take the lead. They struggle with runners in scoring position, and the big home runs by the Brewers give them the lead, and they eventually close that one out. And then today, basically a pitching duel from both the Brewers and the Mets perspective. Brewers hit back-to-back pinch hit home runs as soon as Jose Quintana comes out of the ball game, and then you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's the dagger, because both offenses in tonight's game looked completely terrible. Terrible. Pitching was just dominating the entire night, and the one person that you probably least expected to was Devin Williams to blow up, and that's exactly what happened, and the Mets took advantage of it the entire way. And they have the luxury now of playing the Phillies. They have the luxury now of playing the Philadelphia Phillies. So it's going to be a very entertaining series, I would say. As a Phillies fan's perspective, 100%. Every playoff series is just going to take years off your life. That's what the postseason does in general. Just look at the Mets fans' perspective. I have one, like I've said many times, I have one buddy that is a Mets fan, and he has gone from cocky to distraught to cocky to pain to cocky to everything, basically. He is going through the entire motions. He was prepared for the Mets to lose today, and then I'm sure throughout the entire game he was prepared for that to happen, especially when they're down 2-0 in the top of the ninth inning, and then as soon as the Mets win the game, you go back to cockiness, because that is the emotional roller coaster that postseason baseball is, and that's why postseason baseball is very beautiful to watch. But from a Phillies fan's thought, like I said, I didn't care who the Phillies faced because I am confident in this baseball team. You won 95 games. You're one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. You have home field advantage. You are the best team home record-wise in Major League Baseball. You play very well at Citizens Bank Park. The atmosphere, especially against the New York Mets, it's going to be insane. Now, granted, sadly, Mets fans are going to show up in the ballpark. You really can't control there because people are going to sell stuff on the secondary market. That just, what happens when people see an opportunity to make a lot of money, and it's people coming from New York. New Yorkers are going to pay a lot of money just to come down here, especially since it's not that long of a drive down to South Philadelphia to watch a game. So, yeah, Mets fans are going to have their presence in Citizens Bank Park. That is going to be guaranteed. So you really can't do anything about that. From that perspective, Mets fans do it all the time. They travel very well. So there's really no control of that unless just all Phillies fans somehow prevent Mets fans from showing up, which I do not see happening at all. Down to the Phillies. You're going up against a team that is going to be very gassed. They've played a lot of baseball recently. Like the Mets, they played a lot of baseball. Granted, last week they had that, series postponed with the Braves because of the hurricane situation. Then they played that 3-game series in Milwaukee. Then they play that doubleheader on Monday just to get into the playoffs against the Braves. And then they go shoot right into the postseason against the Brewers for the 3-game wild card. And tomorrow's going to be their only day off. That's not enough time to rest, especially from all the baseball they've been playing recently. And you are a very fresh team. You have a bye week. You had, what, from Monday off. So you've had 5 days off basically right here for a 4:05 start Saturday afternoon, late afternoon on Saturday for NLDS game 1 and 2. So that also on Sunday is a 4:05 game as well. 4:05, 4:08, whatever the times are. It's 4 o'clock basically. I'm not terrified at all. Bring on the Mets. Bring on the Mets. Just make it even sweeter for a postseason run if you manage to beat that pesky New York team. Now, I'm not saying this and everything that the Mets suck. No, the Mets clearly do not suck. The Mets have found a way to turn their season around completely, and they are defying right now Metting, basically. You're thinking, oh, the Mets will eventually met. So far, they haven't been doing that. And you thought to yourself, oh, geez, with what happened in these last 2 games against Milwaukee, the way that, they blew in game 2 with the pinch hit go-ahead shot for the Brewers, you thought, oh, that's the Mets metting right there. And then the 2 pinch hit solo bombs in today's game, that you thought that situation, oh, God, the Mets just met. They're going to choke the series away after they just had a dominant game 1. So sometimes things just happen quickly in the sport of baseball. And like I said, basically the one pitcher that you did not expect to blow up completely blew up, and that was Devin Williams. No one was thinking that at all. I'm sure every Brewers fan, I'm sure every Mets fan going into that inning thought it was going to be a lockdown inning for Devin Williams, and it was going to be a quick 1-2-3 series over. Brewers are the team that's going to play the Phillies. Nope, that's not what happened in the slightest. So if you just want to look at these 3 games here and just the craziness that it was, obviously game 1, 8-4 Mets, just a bunch of lead changes throughout. The Mets had that 5-run 5th inning, and they ran away with the ball game right there. Severino, he got out of a lot of jams early in the ball game. The Brewers just leveled him off the hook after hook after hook after hook. He ended up throwing 105 pitches in 6 innings. He was actually sent to the bullpen for tonight's game just in the case he needed to be used. So the both teams were laying it on the line for this series, and then you get the Brewers winning last night 5-3 with that huge, Chirino hits 2 home runs, and then that, pinch hit 2-run shot to take the lead for the Brewers. That was huge in that instance. The Mets, they used 4 pitchers last night. Manaea went 5 innings, threw 86 pitches. Garrett threw an inning, Stanek threw an inning, and then Maton just completely imploded in that 8th inning for New York. And then for today's game, Quintana, Brewers, both lineups, Myers for the Brewers, he was really good. Quintana was really good. Puto came in that 7th inning and it just completely got blown up with the 2 pinch hit solo shots. Diaz, he had the pitch at inning in the 3rd, and he walked 2, struck out 3, didn't allow any damage basically there. Peterson, he got the save in that instance. The Brewers used a ton of pitchers in this game. They used Myers, they used McGill, they used Mears, they used Peralta in the 8th inning, and then Williams was the guy to allow 4 runs. Like, seriously, that is the one guy that you just were not expecting whatsoever. That is insanely crazy. And I remember seeing a stat. I think he only allowed 1 or 2 home runs. He didn't pitch that many games this season because I believe he was dealing with injuries at some point. But I think he only allowed like 1 or 2 home runs the entire year. And of course, the inning he blows up, he allows the go-ahead 3-run shot. That is just crazy. That is just crazy. That's baseball for you, though. That is baseball. And baseball, especially in the postseason, crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. But when you're going into this series, like I said, and I just, this is coming from seeing a lot of Phillies fans on Twitter right here, and just over the course of the week entirely, there's a lot of Phillies fans that are scared. I don't know what the reason is. I just don't understand. People are so terrified. And this is not just the Mets. Of course, there's obviously people that are terrified to play the Mets just because it's the Mets. But people are just so scared. You're a 95-win team. What reasons do you have to be scared? And all the reasons I say, oh, the Phillies, oh, they're going to get smoked. They have no chance in the first round because they have so many days off. I don't trust their offense. I don't trust their pitching. I don't trust anything with this team. Blah, 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 blah. It's just absolutely insane. Absolutely bonkers. Craziness. Honestly, just major loser energy coming from Philadelphia fans. And that's what I hate. You're a 95-win team. You're one of the best teams in baseball. And I'm not saying that the Phillies aren't flawed. The Phillies 100% are a flawed team. They're not the only flawed team in baseball. They're not the only flawed team in this postseason. Look at that series with the Mets and the Brewers. There were some flaws on both sides. Both offenses in the final two games went insanely cold. Insanely cold. And yes, granted, yes, the Phillies offense can go cold as well. Bullpen-wise, I think the Mets bullpen is 100% weaker than what the Brewers have. So that definitely is a matchup that is in your favor. You can get to this Mets bullpen. Now, the Mets do have a lot of lefties in their rotation, so that definitely is going to be wavering a lot of things because the Brewers do have a more right-handed heavy rotation and they have more mix and match in their bullpen. Mets, they're more lefty heavy in their, I would say, I'm not even sure if their bullpen. They might have some lefties in their bullpen, but I think they're more lefty heavy when it comes to their starting rotation, especially with Quintana and Peterson. So, basically, the Phillies, the one thing you need to be concerned about going into the series, yourselves. That is basically it. You are a better team than the New York Mets. The Mets may be a hot team. They may have been one of the better, hottest teams in baseball. Hotness, they eventually come to an end. Hot streaks come to an end. Teams go cold. And you might be seeing the Mets at the perfect time because, like I said, they've been playing a lot of baseball. A ton of baseball. And you are the fresh team coming into this. Now, and like I said, if you're the Phillies, you probably got the best case scenario with the series in general just because that series went 3 games and both teams beat up on each other. Pitching wise and just, the craziness that was going on in that series. So, the Phillies should be salivating coming into this series. You have Zach Wheeler going game 1. I have no idea who is pitching game 1 for the Mets. Nothing has been announced yet. It's either going to be Luis Severino or it's going to be someone else. I have no idea who it's going to be. I would assume it's either Severino or Peterson. That's what I would assume at this point. I would think Severino, but you're also going to be getting Severino. If he is the guy, he's going to be pitching on short rest. So that might work to your benefit too. You're going to have a lot of these pitchers pitching on short rest. So that's what the postseason is. You're going to have Zach Wheeler game 1. Phillies are still debating on who's going to go game 2. You saw that from Rob Thompson, I believe, earlier today when they were going through all their scrimmages and all that stuff. I believe they're still debating on whether to go Christopher Sanchez game 2, whether to go Aaron Nola game 2, flip-flop them, whatever it is. So there's definitely a discussion to have right there. And there definitely is, a lot of matchup-based things because the Mets lineup is very right-handed heavy. They have very few lefties in their lineup that I am not mistaken. I believe the only lefties, if I'm not mistaken, that's in their lineup, on a normal basis is Francisco Lindor. He's a switch hitter. They have Brandon Nimmo. They have Jesse Winker, and Jesse Winker's not always in the lineup, especially when it comes to left-handed hit pitchers. So, yeah, they are a very, very right-handed hitting lineup, and that definitely can come to maybe to an advantage when it comes to a Zach Wheeler. Oh, Zach Wheeler's an advantage regardless because Zach Wheeler is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Come to an advantage for an Aaron Nola. So we'll see what, postseason Aaron Nola is like. Whatever game that Christopher Sanchez is going to be in, whether that is game 2, whether that's game 3. Obviously, the record-wise, from the home to road is going to factor in with Christopher Sanchez, and Rob Thompson absolutely brought that up, because Christopher Sanchez does pitch better when it comes to Citizens Bank Park rather than being on the road. So there is something that's going to be factored in there. So we'll see. We'll see. All you got to do is win game 1. All you got to do is win game 1, and you'll see what goes from there. You focus on one game at a time. Mets have a good lineup. Mets have, solid pitching. You can get to their bullpen. The bullpen's definitely not shut down by any means, I would say. I think their bullpen is very vulnerable. In my opinion, they're very prone to blowing up. So, see where it goes. See where it goes. You're a fully rested team. You're a team that's hungry. You're a team that has a goal that's been set for a long time here. Going back to, choking last year against the Arizona Diamondbacks. You know what your goal is. You know what your goal is. Winning a pennant is just not enough. You want to win a World Series. You want to get back to the World Series. And for the Phillies, this is their best shot to do it this year, in my honest opinion. Granted, like I said, I still think their window is open for the next few years, but I do think this year it's their best shot to do it. And it starts with the New York Mets, and it starts with beating the fucking asses of the New York Mets. Like I said, this is going to be a very entertaining series fan bases are going to be going back and forth, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Mets fans are definitely going to be obnoxious. Phillies fans are going to be obnoxious. Man, it's going to be crazy. It is going to be crazy. It's very weird, though, that this is going to be the first matchup postseason-wise between the Phillies and the Mets for as long as these franchises have been around. None of them, they have never met in the postseason before. So that definitely is going to be bringing an interesting twist to the rivalry. 100%. 100%. And yeah, it's just another journey with this team, another journey in the Red October. I'm pumped. It's going to be crazy. Saturday afternoon at the bank. Zach Wheeler throwing first pitch. See what this offense is going to do against the Mets. Be nice to have a Kyle Schwarber leadoff bomb. That would always be very fun. That would be very fun. That would be a great tone setter, in my honest opinion. That would be a fantastic tone setter if Kyle Schwarber can give you a nice leadoff bomb. Put up a few runs there in the bottom of the first inning against whoever the starter is going to be on Saturday for the Mets. Give Zach Wheeler a nice cushion. Don't tempt me with a good time. Don't tempt me with a good time. I am refreshing the Twitterverse just to see if there's anything here. I see the one picture right here from the Brewers' perspective. They already had their champagne carts into the locker room, in the top of the ninth, and then they had to wheel it all out after all that crap happens. Oh man, that is insane. That is absolutely insane. My God. My God. My goodness. What's up? What's up? What's up here? I want to say, a lot of Phillies fans are saying Chase Utley to throw out first pitch. That is funny. Oh man, let's see. What else is there? Let's see. Nope, there's nothing here on anything Twitterverse. It's just basically people that are being scared, people that are just, same old Phillies fans, same old Negadelphians that I'm seeing all over the place. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I'm confident in this Phillies bunch. I think they're the more put together team than the New York Mets. I would say the only concern for the Phillies right now is still Ranger Suarez. I think that is the biggest concern. Bullpen-wise, I don't have a concern. I think your bullpen is pretty much set for the entire postseason, and it's been pretty good the entire year, so I'm not worried about that in the slightest. I'm confident in Zach Wheeler. Why shouldn't anyone be? Or why would anyone not be? I'm confident in Christopher Sanchez. I want to see what he can do in the postseason. Broke out big time this year. Granted, yes, the home and road splits aren't obvious with Christopher Sanchez, but, he's going to have to find a way to figure that out, and I'm very confident that he can figure it out. Yeah, obviously, Aaron Nola is a big question mark in the rotation, but I've seen Aaron Nola be really good in the postseason the past couple of seasons, so I'm not worried in the slightest about him. But, Aaron Nola's always going to be an adventure. That's just a given with him. That's just a given, but I'm not concerned in the slightest. Offensively, I think the rest honestly could help this team a lot. I think them having 5 days off, them just focus on just and they're granted people are gonna say rust and all that stuff. They're playing simulated games basically the entire week. They're going through the trainings, they're going through the motions. I don't think rust is gonna be that big of a factor here. If you're a good team, you'll find a way. Man, this Phillies team is a good way. It is a good team, and I firmly believe they will find a way because that's what good teams do. I don't care about the Phillies' record in the second half. I don't care that they were 33-33 in the second half. I don't care. If these past couple of postseasons have proven one thing, it doesn't matter how hot, it doesn't matter how cold you are going into the playoffs. All that matters is what happens in your what happens in your first postseason game. It doesn't really matter. We saw in 2022, the Phillies stumble their way through September. They get lucky as hell because the Brewers collapsed even more. They squeak into the postseason. They got that monkey off the shoulder. And obviously, the first game against the Cardinals, that was absolutely insane. And that went off on a complete deep postseason run. Granted, it didn't end in the ultimate goal because you lost to a better team, but anything can happen in the postseason. Last year, Texas Rangers, very cold month of September, lost their AL West division lead, lost the AL division, had to settle for the wild card because the Astros overtook that. Texas Rangers ended up winning the World Series. You can even say the same thing for the Arizona Diamondbacks last year as well. They were one of the last wild card seeds. So anything could happen at that point. Now, are we going to be saying that this Mets team, because they're the last wild card seed, that anything can happen? So is it just, the sixth wild card spot is just that, luck thing right there that anything could happen with that seed? Who knows? Who knows? But at some point, the better team wins. At some point, like I said, it matters. I'm going to keep saying this. It doesn't really matter how hot or how cold you're going into the playoffs. It just doesn't matter at that point. You get out at the right time. You get out at the right time, and that starts with the first game of the postseason. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day what happens in the regular season, because you could be the coldest team going into the playoffs. You find yourself winning a World Series. Now, yeah, granted, you could be the coldest team going into the playoffs, and you find yourself getting eliminated in the first round. You could be the hottest team going into the playoffs, and yeah, you could find yourself ending up into the championship series. You could find yourself getting into the World Series, winning the pennant and all that stuff, maybe coming up short in the World Series, maybe winning a World Series. Yeah, obviously, that could also factor in it as well. But I'm looking at, more recency history, and that's what has been, going in hot, going in cold, really hasn't mattered. Really hasn't mattered. And people want to keep saying that the bye week is always a hindrance to a lot of teams. I saw the Houston Astros get a bye week in 2022. They won the World Series. They went undefeated in the first two rounds until they lost 2 games to the Phillies in the World Series. They still won the World Series. So, I don't think it's impossible. And that's more coming from the Braves fan perspective, because the Braves fans, they found all the excuses in the world, and the Braves organization in general finding all the excuses in the world, trying to blame the bye week for everything there. Even though when they won the World Series in 2021, they had 4 days off before that Nlds started. So, I don't want to hear anything about rest, leaving the rust, because it clearly didn't happen like that in 2021. I'm confident in this Phillies squad. I don't know why anyone shouldn't be. I just hate the Phillies fans that are saying this team is just an automatic out, that they're automatically going to lose in the first round. I just hate that. Why do the Phillies' flaws outweigh every other team? Why do the Phillies' flaws outweigh every other team? Phillies' biggest flaws, obviously, yes, the flaws are valid. The concerns are valid. I'm not saying that. They're 100% valid. Yeah, the lineup has the tendency to go very hot or very cold. That's obvious. It's been like that for the past couple of years. And even with that, they still have gone very deep into the playoffs with that. So, maybe it's not as bad as you think it is. And I would say maybe the only other concern is probably Ranger Suarez. So 2 concerns right there, maybe 2 flaws. I would say that. People would want to bring up the strikeouts and all that stuff. Nah. Phillies were ranked 16th, 17th in terms of strikeouts in Major League Baseball this year. They don't strike out as much as you think. They don't. They just don't. Other teams, let's look at some of the other teams here. Mets, I think their bullpen is their biggest weakness. I firmly do. And obviously, I don't think their rotation is that deep. Yeah, they got some hot guys in that rotation, but I don't think their rotation is necessarily that deep. They are missing some arms in that rotation, obviously. So I think those are the flaws of the Mets. And maybe you could say this is not really a flaw. This is just like, a nitpick type of thing. Obviously, their lineup is too right-handed heavy. They don't have many lefties in their lineup. So maybe that could be a backfire thing for them. Obviously, it didn't work that way for the Brewers, and granted, the Brewers don't have that much left-handed pitching. They don't have, anything like that. So we have no idea there. Brewers, obviously, their lineup was just not good enough. And you saw that flaw 100% in this postseason in that wildcard series. So that was one flaw for the Brewers. For the Dodgers, their starting rotation is injured to hell. And I don't think their bullpen's that good. So those are the flaws for the Dodgers. For the San Diego Padres, I don't think their lineup's that deep. I don't think their starting rotation's that deep. They've been playing very good, but those are flaws that I point out with the Padres. Looking at the American League, Yankees, I don't think their bullpen's that deep, and I think their lineup relies too much on Judge and Soto, just in my personal opinion, because if those two guys have a bad game, there's a lot of other guys that need to step up in that lineup that sometimes just don't step up. So that lineup really relies heavily on Soto and Judge. So I think that's one of the Yankees' biggest flaws. And granted, Judge and Soto are some of the best players in baseball. So yeah, obviously that's one way to build your lineup around those two. But yeah, that definitely could be a flaw of them. Guardians, they do definitely. I would say the Guardians play like a weird. I wouldn't say a weird. They definitely don't play a brand of baseball that is suited for today's game. If that makes sense, they do favor more towards small ball than I would say like modern baseball where it's extra base hits, where it's home runs, all that stuff. I think the Guardians kind of hinder towards small ball, and maybe that doesn't work for them in the postseason. I don't know. The Guardians just naturally don't go that deep into the postseason. They usually just can't close out series. It's been like that for them for the past few years. So, them pitching wise, their bullpen has been very good. Starting rotation wise, maybe might be their weakest thing, but we'll see where that carries them. In terms of the other teams, what are the other teams that made it? Detroit, they're a fun story. Their offense sucks though. Their offense is terrible, and Tarek Skubal's like goat. Tarek Skubal's great, but I would say Tarek Skubal and their bullpen's very good. Offense, not so much. Kansas City Royals. I would just say, with the Tigers and the Royals, they're just two inexperienced teams. Royals, they're not that deep. They got good pitching, but overall, their lineup's not that deep. Same thing with the Tigers. So it's two young, inexperienced teams. So eventually, you would think their runs come to an end at some point when they're playing better competition with, Cleveland and the Yankees. But it would be absolutely hilarious if one of those teams does get beat. It would be very hilarious if the Yankees somehow choke to the Tigers. That's who the Tigers are playing, right? They're playing the Yankees. I don't remember. I don't remember, honestly, at the end of the day. I want to see who is playing. So it'll be, the Yankees are playing the Royals, Detroit's playing Cleveland. Would be very funny if the Yankees lose to Kansas City. It would be very funny if that was the case. But you can never guarantee things. You can never guarantee things. Not concerned. Not concerned in the slightest for the Phils. There's definitely a lot of Phillies fans out there that are very concerned, that want to point out to the way the Phillies played in the second half. Phillies are a 95-win team. They're one of the best teams in baseball. Yeah, there was bad moments throughout the year. Obviously, what team doesn't go through bad moments? And yes, concerns are valid. I'm 100% saying the concerns are valid. I don't think the Phillies' concerns outweigh other teams' flaws. Every team in baseball is flawed. I don't think the Phillies outweigh it. In my personal opinion, they wouldn't have been a 95-win team if it wasn't for that factor. Or if it was for that factor, they wouldn't have been a 95-win team, but they are a 95-win team. They have a damn good bullpen. They have a really good rotation. And granted, yes, Ranger is a concern. That's probably the only concern of their rotation. Lineup is very deep. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto. Then you get to the bottom parts of the lineup with Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, and all that stuff right there. Johan, whether who is playing center field or who's playing left field, whether they decide to go Austin Hayes, whether they decide to do, Brandon Marsh in left, Johan Rojas in center, whether they decide there, your lineup's still very deep. Very deep. Yes, they do go hot and cold. Every team in baseball's lineup goes insanely hot and insanely cold. The Phillies have gone on multiple deep postseason runs the past couple of years with a very hot and very cold lineup. So, whatever it is, it's working for them. Have faith, have confidence in your team. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Because I'm seeing a lot of fans out there bringing a lot of the loser energy. Just being honest. Being honest. It's kind of annoying. Sad. Loser. Just, dumb energy. Dumb energy that's not warranted. Have faith in your fucking team. Jesus Christ. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying here. Phillies fans, Philadelphia fans, just who knows? Who knows? Classic. 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 Let's see what else is there. The good fight here on Twitter posted something really crazy here. Confused how Devin Williams and his 1.25 ERA, his 1.53 ERA, and his 1.93 ERA, 65 saves and 72 opportunities is not elite. Oh my god. I think that's most people just trying to say that he's not elite. Oh my god. Just crazy stuff here. But it should shape up for definitely an interesting postseason run. 100%. 100%. It's going to be a very intense series. Definitely going to take a lot of years off of all of our lives. 100%. And I'm not denying that. That's what postseasons do. That's the emotional roller coaster that is October. 100%. And if the Phillies come up short, I'll call them out on it. We all should call them out on it. But if they go far, appreciate the journey. Appreciate the journey. Because think about it. In this city, this Phillies franchise, this doesn't happen too often. You got to cherish the moments when they do happen. But yes, if they do eventually come up short, you call them out on it. Which 100% we will, if that's the case. You already know it. You already know it. So, let's get to some of you guys here in the chat before we close up shop here. Because it was funny, too. I was at the Flyers preseason game tonight. Basically, both teams just flirted out both AHL squads, so I just had the phone up with ESPN Plus watching the game. And it was a snooze fest throughout the entire thing. It was basically a pitching duel. I was like, come on, someone do something. Then the home runs happened on the Brewers' perspective, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, that's probably the dagger because nothing else is really happening. And then once the Flyers game ended, walked down to the concourse. We saw one of the TVs was playing the game, watched that, and then Pete Alonso's home run happened. And it was like, I had a sense that something was going to happen because Devin Williams just did not look right on the first batter that he faced, which was Francisco Lindor. Just did not look right from the get-go. And I was like, yeah, something's probably going to happen here. He looks too off. Pitch comm issues and all that stuff. His commands all over the place. Just felt weird. Just felt weird in that aspect. You know what I mean? So. Why you nervous, Mind Freak? Why you nervous? Are you nervous just from the Phillies' perspective? Are you worried about the Phillies? Or are you nervous because we're playing the Mets? You got to play good teams in the postseason. You got to beat good teams in the postseason. What was the Phillies' record against 500 teams this year? If I have to remind people. Phillies record versus teams above 500 this year. Let's see. Let's see. What was their record? Teams above 500. Teams above 500. I don't know why that brings that up there. Let's see. I need to see their record against teams above 500. Will it show it here on MLB.com, or do I have to do it on ESPN? Here we go. Here we go. The Phillies. That was greater than 500, I'm assuming. Greater than 500. The Phillies, they were 49-41 against teams above 500 this year. Put it into some perspective. Let's see. The Braves, they were 52-41. The Mets, they were 47-46 against above 500 teams. Let's see, what else? The Yankees. Okay, the Yankees were really good against above 500 teams. The Guardians, they were 50-47. The Astros, they were terrible against above 500 teams. Is that the best judge right here? I want to see if ESPN has a better thing, because I'm not sure if they do it a little bit differently. I'm not sure if MLB.com is doing, like, above 500 teams or all that stuff. So, no, ESPN doesn't even do anything like that. I want to try to see if I can, like, record above 500 teams. Above 500 teams. For some reason, StatMuse does not have that. I don't know why it does. It just specifically says against the Cubs. For some reason, I don't know why. Phillies record against above 500 teams does not show it. Does not show it at all. Joy. Well, according to MLB.com, it's different there. So if I go back to MLB.com, Phillies standings and record. Phillies were 49-41 against above 500 teams this year. So, and if I put that over the league, where does that rank? Where does that rank? I wish you could set that. Let's see. Nope. 49-41 against above 500 teams. So, it's a good record. It's a good record against above 500 teams. So, take it for what it's worth. Take it for what it's worth. Tyler, how you doing? The craziest thing to think about is that the Phillies and the Mets never faced off in the postseason before. Yeah, that definitely is crazy. I never would have expected that. You know what I mean? Never would have thought of that. But granted, I guess these are two teams that really make the postseason in their franchise, so I guess that's to be expected at this point. Michael, the only thing the Phillies should be concerned about are themselves. I agree. I 100% agree there. Got my couple of Mets subscribers in the chat here. BJ, how you doing? As a Mets fan, I love your channel, but bring on Saturday, my man. I've been waiting for this since I was born. Let's go, Mets. It'll definitely be an interesting time, BJ. Definitely. Definitely. How you doing, Daniel? How you doing? Dr. Drew, another Mets fan in the chat here. I am speechless. How do I deserve happiness? Oh, man. This will be real fun. Oh, yeah, 100%. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. I was flipping between both games tonight and completely missed that home run. I tuned in and saw that it was 3-2. Yeah, that definitely was a crazy moment. And like I said it to myself in that instance, was like, this is going to be Pete Alonso's defining moment as a Met. Either something big's going to happen or it's going to be his final at-bat as a Met, and it results in a loss. So, he definitely had his defining moment right there. Definitely has a chance to be a worse moment later on against the Phils. Just saying. I live in Philly. These New Yorkers are crazy. Oh, yeah, 100% they are. 100% they are. They are insane. They are insane. Let's see. The Mets, this comes from Anthony Tacoma of MLB.com. He is a Mets writer there. Mets will discuss their NLDS pitching plans at greater length tomorrow, but Tyler Miguel is the leading candidate to start Game 1 against Zach Wheeler. Interesting. So Tyler Miguel looks like he's going to start. Tyler Miguel. Let's see. Let the best, man. You're still one of my favorite YouTubers. I appreciate it, BJ. I appreciate it. We're definitely going to be talking a lot of shit to each other this series. 100%. Definitely talking a lot of shit back and forth. But it'll be all in love. Except for my one buddy. I'm definitely going to talk a lot of shit to him if the Phillies beat the Mets. 100%. But, yeah. I think that'll do it for tonight, everybody. It's past 11. I'm probably going to do some editing tonight. We'll see. Miguel beat Wheeler last time. Doesn't mean anything. Does not mean anything whatsoever. Does not mean anything whatsoever. It's not even like Wheeler pitched bad. Wheeler allowed 2 runs. Phillies offense just sucked that night. So, I expect the Phillies offense to be better. And they will be better. So, it means absolutely nothing. So, that'll do it for tonight, everybody. Appreciate you all for tuning in here. Last minute type of stream. Like, I was really waiting to do something here until the matchup was set. There was really nothing to talk about until something actually happened. And we finally got that reason to happen there. So, matchup is set. Set for Saturday at 4:05, 4:08, whatever the fucking time is, at the bank. Phillies Mets. Can't wait for it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. Also, use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Phillies fans, don't be fucking afraid. And Mets fans, to my Mets subscribers, I love you, but screw off for the time being. But screw off for the time being.